Okay. All right. So this is the second meeting of the incremental compilation working group. And yeah, it's Felix, Wesley, Santiago, and Aman, who is somebody who's interested in just joining for the first time, right? Okay, great, great. Okay, so we don't have much of a standing agenda. I've been wondering about whether we should be doing things like reviewing the bugs that are assigned to incremental compilation, but for now, that's not part of our standing agenda. Maybe it can start being part of that. But let's look at the things that Wesley has at least posted, and then we can let's actually first discuss whether there's anything else we want to add to the agenda at the outset, like any other ideas of things to talk about, to make sure we add them at the start. So there's the thing that Wesley already said down below, the tag, the 74967 PR. And then anything else anybody can think of? I guess we could potentially go around and do status updates. I know I don't have much to say, but we can at least make that something we can quickly go around and see if anybody has anything interesting to say. Anything else anybody want to throw on there? No? Okay, let's go ahead and get started then. So let's first go ahead and talk about the thing that Wesley has put here. So you wanna head this up, Wesley, since you're the one who put it up here?
Sure. So I haven't actually haven't really had time yet to dig into it very much. But Partitioning CC'd us on a PR that touches parts of the incremental compiler. Basically, it makes lazy decoding for the def path table from crate dependencies lazy. And so obviously that has implications for incremental compilation, which is why we got CC'd. The performance for the most recent performance run is quite good. It's especially exaggerated on small check compilation sessions, but there's some, I think, pretty decent wins even for more regular performance benchmarks in there, and
no significant losses. Yeah, that's pretty promising.
Yeah, which is fairly rare, at least from what I've seen. So I think, at least from the performance perspective, this looks like a no-brainer to land, but we should probably take a look at the implementation and see if there's any concerns there. So
yeah, okay. I will have more time to do stuff on Thursday, I think. So I could probably look at this then. But if anybody else wants to jump on it before then, I'm happy to it's already assigned to me. Petruchenko, I think, assigned it to me yesterday. But if anybody else wants to take a look at it, obviously feel free to not even to like take responsibility for it, but just even to like put your own thoughts on it. Any other extra comments, etc. Okay, but I think I agree with Wesley. This is good. Should we reach? Is Aaron? Have we reached out to Aaron about being part of this working group? Is there a reason?
I don't think we have. I don't think we have.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know whether they're interested in it, but it seems like they might have the knowledge to do interesting stuff. So, okay, that's something. So, okay, action items here that I can think of. One is to review PR 74967. Felix should do so on Thursday. And then also reach out to Aaron 1011 about joining okay. Anyone want to volunteer to do that? I mean, I maybe could, but it might be nice if somebody else did, to be honest. the reaching out to Aaron, I mean.
I can do that.
Okay, great. And okay, yeah. So that sounds good. Let's do a quick round robin then and talk about status. So I'll go first. I have done nothing. I've been focusing on. I mostly have taken the back seat of work stuff for various reasons, and I've been focusing on childcare. But the things I have been doing have been more general compiler, like reviews or like LLVM stuff. Santiago and I have talked about trying to get together to do some pair programming, but we haven't done it yet. I still want to do query stuff, but it hasn't happened yet. That's me. Who's next?
I mostly read through some of the stuff that I discussed with Wesley. I'm very new to all of this, so just trying to figure out some details, but yeah, it kind of sort of makes sense to me right now.
Sounds good.
My status update is similar to Felix. Basically, we can coordinate like maybe for Thursday if you have time, like maybe to do some pair programming or something like that. But
yeah,
I haven't done anything yet.
Yeah, the kids should bit on my hair on Thursday, so that might be good.
Okay.
So Felix forgot to mention that he actually reviewed my PR to break up the CGU partitioning today. So that actually just landed, I think like an hour ago or something.
Oh, sweet.
So I have some local changes on top of that I've been playing with for a different partitioning algorithm. I kind of brain dumped that in a stream, I think like 2 or 3 weeks ago. And I don't think a whole lot has changed since then, but basically just to catch everybody up in case anybody didn't see that. The current, it's fairly different than the current algorithm in that it doesn't create just 2 CGUs per Rust module. It instead tries to figure out the total cost of all the dependencies of each function and then groups CGUs basically to try to get a more even outcome that still respects the total number of CGUs in the compiler. I think right now I've done some local perf runs and it varies between I think about 20% and 50% slower in terms of total compilation time than the current algorithm. But I don't think that's actually, I think there's room for improvement there. It's fairly naive currently, which is why I think there's room for improvement there. The current algorithm is fairly complex and stuff has been well optimized for that. And this was sort of just I threw something at the wall and it
I'd like some clarification on a detail about this. So you mentioned, the current algorithm that's in the compiler does 2 CGUs per module, and you're trying something else that analyzes the dependency graph and the costs, if I interpret that right, of the actual function items themselves. Does that mean you've is there basically no relationship between the CGOs and the modules, or is it that there's a minimum of 2 per module? And it's just that maybe there might be more per module, or in fact, there's.
I'm trying to recall that detail. I believe, if I remember right, there's no relationship at all, and I basically have a maximum size, and then once I hit that maximum size, I just start creating another one. So we just iterate items as we get them from the mono item collector, and then as the CGs fill up to the max size, whatever, in terms of partitioning, we just create another one, and then we run the standard merge process where we take the smallest ones and we merge them together to get the larger one. And I think I also made some changes to that so that when we merge them, we take into account the total size after pulling in all the required mono items, not just the roots that start in the CGUs.
How'd you choose the max to use for the threshold to where you start gathering into a new units?
I
It's
just
like,
pulled a number out of the air.
yeah, okay. Just
I've played
wondering.
with a couple different numbers. It looks like larger numbers, at least for the regex crate is what I'm using to iterate on, and then actually run benchmarks on the benchmark suite. But at least for regex, larger numbers tend to be better. So I think right now I was playing with around 10,000 CGU units or cost estimate or whatever. So yeah.
And the other question I had, do you still end up with something where, so it's an artifact of our monomorphization system that you have 2 per module, right? That's, or am I misremembering how that works in terms of, the reason why I asked this, because I'm now wondering, is there some similar, 2x factor that happens with your system? It's just that now you first do this gathering process, and then do you have 2 things?
So the reason we do 2 currently, as I understand it, is that it can be a performance optimization for incremental cases on the hope that when you're editing code, you're mostly editing code that resides in the non-generic module, because there's a module that has generic instantiations or mono items that came from generic code, and then there's a module that just has functions that don't have
I see.
any type parameters or whatever.
I see.
So,
I wasn't aware of it. For some reason, I've been ignorant of that motivation. I'm curious if that's ever been justified. I hope it was. Okay. That doesn't strike me as an intuition I would have.
Yeah, it doesn't make intuitive. I see the motivation for it. It doesn't make intuitive sense to me based on what I've seen, because pretty much any code that I write in a function that doesn't have type parameters probably eventually calls generic code, which winds up in the other module. And so now I have 2 modules that need to be recompiled.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah. And
Okay.
then the other day, I was also playing around. MW had filed a ticket a couple years ago about debug builds, including inline functions in even debug configurations. So basically, if you call a monomorphized function in an upstream crate, but it's marked inline, even in debug mode, we'll still instantiate that function in the downstream crate in every CGU, I believe, that calls that. When obviously we could hopefully just instantiate it once, or even potentially use the upstream one. But I'm learning a lot while I'm trying to get that to work, but it's hairy. So
Okay. All right, so that's everyone then, I think. I did want to ask if Wesley, you've talked to Felix Fisher, I think, to some extent. Is there any further thoughts on like actually spinning up a concrete project group of some kind? And the reason why I ask is it may be useful from a standpoint of like gathering new volunteers to have a concrete project group with a set objective versus a kind of open-ended thing that we have right now in this working group. So that's why I just want to always try to think about whether we should be spinning off any project groups to do such things, just in terms of gathering extra resources.
Yeah, I think that is really interesting. I probably need to brainstorm with somebody about what the goals could actually be for that. I'm not sure I have enough data and motivation and goals and stuff right now to actually drive a bunch of volunteers. So
that's fine. It's more that I feel like it should at least be a sort of that if I'm gonna have any standing item in our agenda, it should be, do we want to spin up any project groups in the near future, and like just to keep it in the back of our minds. But I totally understand if there's nothing that both of you don't have the time yourself, nor the actual concrete ideas ready to get to go for it. Okay, that's good. All right. So this might be a very short meeting then. I don't know if we have anything else to talk about. Is there more procedural stuff? I suspect there might be other procedural things that I have not followed through on in terms of the formation of this working group. but maybe I should just talk to Santiago offline about that versus using meeting time for it. I'm thinking namely of like, I don't even know if I've done the right stuff to update the check-in. I'm certain that the check-in system doesn't know about us yet, or so I'm pretty certain. I don't know enough about that infrastructure to say whether it knows or not. Anyway, okay, that's all.
You have an issue open about that, right?
I think so.
Tomorrow I can give a quick check to that, but if I don't,
Yeah,
if I remember correctly, you opened an issue, or right?
Maybe, I don't know.
Okay.
It's just in the back of my head. I'm sitting going like, I'm sure that there's other things.
Don't worry.
To take
Tomorrow
care
I'm gonna try to search for that. It's probably in a chat with you or something, but I'm going to search for that and
Okay.
check if everything is in place.
Okay, thanks.
Wesley, if there's some, I guess, different ideas you want to try out, I can try figure out the code and see if there are different partitioning algorithms that we can try. I am not necessarily familiar with how I'll go through it, but I can give that a shot.
Okay, that's good. The PR that Wesley just mentioned that landed very recently, PR 74275.
Yeah.
That's the one that actually should make it easier to try out new partitioning.
Yeah, I think I took a little peek at that one. Yeah.
The biggest issue there might be that I didn't mention this in the review, but the biggest issue I suspect might be that the trait that Wesley added to abstract over to partitioning systems, none of the methods are documented. So it's something where you'd still have to like infer a lot about what their contracts are and what the protocol is, and also I don't know, it might well be the case that the interface that's there isn't going to be enough for some use cases, right?
Yeah, might be restrictive. Yeah.
I think I ended up actually changing it a little bit, mostly in terms of, for my strategy in the initial partitioning, I wanted to know about the inlining map, which was not provided as an argument in that first function there. But if I remember right, I think what I did was basically just introduce the partitioning context struct or whatever, and then wrapped all of the arguments from all of the functions in there, and then just passed that to each function every time.
To be clear, Wesley, you're saying the change. You said you changed that. You mean in the experimental thing you did, right? Not in the actual PR that landed.
Sorry, I have local changes that are unpublished. So.
Okay.
But I guess maybe the first thing I should do when I get offline here is push that branch up at least to my GitHub fork, and then people can look at it. So.
Yeah, that might be a good way for me to understand, I guess, sort of how to introduce new stuff. All right, thank you.
Great, thanks, Aman. That'd be really cool to have you working with Wesley a little bit on that.
Yeah.
All right. So that's, I think, everything that we've got to do. Thanks. I know a big agenda item. So okay, I don't know if Nick is going to keep participating in the group. So the background here is Mozilla had a bunch of layoffs, like a quarter of their workforce was laid off. Nick still has his job, but they're organizing, things. And so Nick isn't sure if he's going to have, just in terms of what he's given as his tasks, time to keep participating in this working group. And the only reason why this is, obviously it's a shame to lose Nick as a resource, but also we chose this meeting time to accommodate Nick. And so if Nick isn't able to participate, we really should revisit the question of the timing of the meetings. We don't need to do it right now. It doesn't really make sense to do it right now, because if we're going to change the meeting time, we should do it. For example, we should engage with David TW Co. And others. And Santiago, I know this is not a great time for you. Or at least you've said so to me before. So we should revisit this, but first I want to get confirmation from Nick first that they aren't going to be able to participate. So I will reach out to Nick about unable to contribute, i.e. change time. Okay, and I'll do this. I can reach out to Nick. All right. Thanks everybody. This has been I think this has actually been useful and short. Short is good. Short is very good. All right.
Another thing, Felix. Besides from this thing from Nick, are we going to anyway to have a meetings during like earlier, a bit earlier, or
That's what I
wasn't-
mean. That's what I mean. I mean, if we, assuming Nick, the only reason the meeting's at this time is to accommodate Nick, I think.
Yeah, no, sorry, because what I said maybe was a bit confusing. What I mean is, if I remember correctly, we were with the idea to have like one meeting at night and another one during the mornings.
That's true. That's true. We
Yeah.
were talking about having, and I still was planning on doing that. I just didn't follow through on scheduling the alternative time slot. The idea was that we would have one meeting every 2 weeks
Right.
at this time slot and another meeting on the alternate weeks that would be at the other time slots. So obviously the way to go here is to schedule, we still need to
That's
schedule.
what I mean. Yeah, I think
okay,
that we're still missing mainly because of David. Yeah, I may end participating in the night meetings, but just like as in this one, very last minute decision. But I may not be able.
Yeah, no, okay. So I think the way to go here is we should go ahead and schedule the morning meeting time slot, but do it with the thought that it could potentially be the new weekly meeting time.
Exactly,
like if Nick can't join, then we might just meet. We might meet every week at that time. It also might be the case we don't need a weekly cadence. It could be that we might not be making enough progress each week for it to make sense to meet every week. But let's wait and see about that. We don't need to make a decision yet about whether to meet every week or every 2 weeks. I don't want to go more slowly than every 2 weeks, just because I think at that point you lose momentum. I feel like, it's been 3 weeks since our last meeting, but that's because of various things happened.
Makes sense.
Okay. All right. So, scheduling the morning meeting time slot, I probably should be, well, I don't know. It doesn't have to be me who does that. And reality is I'd rather not do it if I could avoid it, just because I'm trying to avoid putting new loads on myself. Would anybody be willing to take point on trying to handle scheduling the morning meeting time slot, or is that something where I can't get somebody else to do it? I know, Santiago, you've got a lot on your plate because of the prioritization work, so I don't actually want you to volunteer to do it.
I don't mind taking that.
Okay.
I know there was a Zulip thread, and I guess maybe I should just restart that again.
Yeah, that's probably the way to go.
Okay.
Either ping that thread or make a new one. Yeah, the alternating meeting time is the one. So I can even just ping you from it right here, which may be the bad idea, but okay. All right.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thanks everyone for joining.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.